exercise that I regularly turn to is paced breathing, right? And, I think of the breath in two respects, right? There's the architecture of the breath, but then there's the pace of the breath. And so in terms of the architecture of the breath, and, I think we can kind of get into meditation mode while I simultaneously, share some insights here. But we can think of the architecture of the breath such that, we have our most optimal gas exchange into the bloodstream when we manage to fill the diaphragm, right? And so, I often refer to this as homemade biofeedback. If you put a hand on the chest and a hand on the belly, right, then with each inhale, you can allow yourself to feel your belly fill like a balloon. In each exhale, you can feel your belly fall towards your spine. And you want to allow, you want to have decent posture with this, because if you're hunched over, you're not allowing the oxygen to go all the way down to the bottom of your lungs for that optimal gas exchange. So you want to have your head more or less in alignment with your spine down your tailbone. So it's an upright posture. It's not rigid or anything. And we're on camera right now, so you can see that my chest hand really isn't moving at all, right? My chest and my shoulders are loose and still. While the belly rises and falls. And you can do this also with, you can put a pair of books on your chest, one on your chest, open faced, another one on your belly if you're lying down or reclining. The idea is that we're gaining a much better awareness of the breath filling the belly and then exiting. And while the mechanics of all of this are pretty important, we also want to seize this opportunity to be mindful of the process, noticing how it feels as that top hand is stationary and as that bottom hand on the belly rises and falls. You can notice the feeling of your fingertips against your belly as it goes up with the inhale, and it's a normal inhale. Sometimes I find folks will, start doing sound effects or really get into it where they're like, on their inhale, or, they try to go big, and it's just a normal inhale, right? Your body will take in what it needs. And then it's nice long exhale. And as we inhale, we can do that through the nostrils. Again, allowing yourself to be mindful with it. Maybe noticing the sensation of cooler air coming in around the edges of the nostrils. And then you can exhale, either again via the nostrils, or oftentimes it can be nice to have pursed lips and exhale via the lips in a way where we allow ourselves to have an exhale that's much longer than the inhale. So around 4 seconds on the inhale, and you can even count in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4 as you inhale. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as you exhale. And if you have pursed lips, you can tune into the sensation of the breath leaving such that it's a steady flow. If you ever blow on a candle such that you allow it to flicker without going out, it's the same kind of breathing, where it's just a steady, again, no sound effects needed or anything, but you know what I mean, right? Where you just let it flicker from that steady, long exhale. And it's a longer exhale than most people are used to. So that's a little bit about the architecture of the breath. And I touched on the pace of the breath. And I find it's much easier to end up having a paced breath when we do it with a pacer, right? And there's several apps out there that you can use for this purpose. Part of why I like using a pacer and breathing at around 4 seconds in and 6 seconds out is that our heart rate ends up following our breath. So, with sensors, we can see biofeedback sensors, whether it's on my ear or my fingertip or maybe on my chest. I'm able to see as I inhale, my heart rate goes up. As I exhale, my heart rate goes down. Right? So it accelerates with inhale, it decelerates with the exhale. And when we have that nice long exhale, heart rate starts to get really rhythmic, where there ends up being a big difference between the peak and the valley. Folks often think, oh, my heart rate, it's 60 or 70 or whatever it might be, and they think it's a constant. But in actuality, it accelerates, it decelerates, it goes up, it goes down, and we want there to be a big variability. So maybe it goes from 55 up to 70 and then down again, or maybe it's an even bigger difference. And in a lot of respects, I'm less concerned about what the heart rate itself is, right? Whether we're talking about 55 or 85. I'm less concerned about that than I want to see those nice big ups and downs. I want to see it be rhythmic, because when we achieve that and when it's in sync with the breath, people tend to feel much more mentally calm and at the same time physically alert. Essentially, we're getting the sympathetic and the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems working in harmony. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for amping up. That happens with inhale. The parasympathetic nervous system is for calming down, the rest and digest. And that happens with the exhale. So now let's take just a couple minutes to continue breathing with that same architecture I was talking about. You can even, if you removed your hands, you can put them back on your chest and your belly and do it in conjunction with the pace. But I'm going to use the pacer on my phone. I happen to like one called Cardia Deep Breathing. I have no affiliation with the company or anything, but it's called KARDIA Deep Breathing. I look for the purple K icon when I find it. And I put the settings at 4 and 6. If I haven't assessed what somebody's optimal pace is, 6 breaths a minute tends to be in the ballpark. And so as we hear the tone go up, we'll inhale. As we hear it go down, we'll exhale. Allowing yourself to continue to be mindful with how the breath feels, even while being guided to go at this more precise pace. Sometimes as we're breathing, we can kind of notice, especially if we have a hand on the chest or on the abdomen, we might notice our own heart rate. You can actually feel the beat. And so you might notice as you exhale, it going down. Now as we inhale, it going up, decelerating, accelerating as we inhale. And so you can keep breathing at that pace. Ideally, I like to do a 20-minute session at a time. And the research protocols have people doing this twice a day for 20 minutes per session. which is a huge commitment. So I'm often doing some negotiations with my clients, and I'll accept whatever they're willing to commit to. And anecdotally, I find that whether it's 10 minutes twice a day, or maybe it's, 20 minutes, not as mindfully as maybe we're watching TV or driving, right? Not looking at the pacer while we're driving, of course, right? And then the second session is maybe the mindful session, right? Whatever we can commit to, some kind of goodness is going to come from that. But the research protocols have people doing it 2 times 20 minutes a day. And ideally, both sessions are mindful. And the research protocols have people doing this for 10 weeks. And it has huge impacts on mental health, on anxiety disorders, on depression, on cardiac problems, on a slew of both physical and mental disorders. But there's also some literature too that shows us that when HRV, or heart rate variability, is bigger, that we have better situational awareness, right? So I think of that as being like being able to take in a whole bunch of stimuli at once while simultaneously tuning into whatever is most important right here, right now. And so having a flexible attention. And so as you keep moving forward in your day, maybe think about, what is your intention? What are you willing to commit to with your breath practice, or your own variation on a mindfulness practice, hopefully incorporating good architecture in your breath and good pacing in your breath. And see if you can do another session today, or maybe starting with 1 or 2 tomorrow, and see what you can commit to on a daily basis. And notice what the long-term trends are. Notice if your anxiety levels go down, if your situational awareness improves, and maybe even physical health improves, whether that's, pain becoming less intense or whatever it might be.